Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Alertus webinar series. My name is Vincent Busher, Marketing Coordinator at Alertus Technologies. During this presentation, John Jorney will provide insight on expanding your reach with Alertus Outdoor Notification. Feel free to submit your questions during the webinar anytime, and they will be addressed during the Q&A session at the end of this presentation. This webinar is being recorded and will be shared with you after today's session. If you have any questions after this presentation, please email marketing@alertus.com. Now I'd like to turn it over to John.
All right, thank you, Vincent. This is John Dorney from Alertus. I am the product manager for the Outdoor Mass Notification Solution. So my role is to oversee anything outdoor mass notification, new products, designs, implementation, these sorts of things. So what I'm going to do today is give you a quick summary of who Alertus is if you don't already know. I know we have some people signed up who are existing customers looking to expand, so hopefully you can just bear with us shortly. Then after that, we're going to go into a system overview, show you different modalities, and quickly run through the Alertus console and activation modalities. And because there are going to be some people on here who still haven't seen that. So again, if you're an existing customer, I'll try to get through that quickly. Then I'm going to show you the outdoor mass notification solutions, our controller, operation control panel, our high power speaker array, low power solutions. Also get into some integration. If you have existing PAs that you're trying to activate, if you have existing outdoor mass notification, we have an excellent text-to-speech module as well. I'm going to show you. Then we're going to show you at the end. I'm going to show you a couple videos. We recently did some startups of some outdoor mass notifications, one at a government facility. I can't tell you where it is. It's classified. It's not classified, but we will keep the customer name confidential, but I'm going to show you a video. I literally hung out a window with my cell phone and recorded it, so you'll get to see me hanging out the window. And also, we have another video of a industrial facility. So I know we have a lot of refineries and some other facilities that have signed up. So I'll make sure you can see, how does the speaker array sound when there's loud ambient noise? Are we able to get over it? How do we design for that? These are some of the key things I'm going to hit. If you're a college or a school, during an emergency situation, you're going to have police cars. You're going to have loud noises. You're going to have, we need to make sure that we prepare for that increase in ambient noise, and we properly cover your campus with both siren tone and clear voice messaging. Okay, so who is Alertus? Alertus was started by our founder out of an emergency that happened at his college in Maryland. There was a incident where two people actually passed after an emergency, and he ended up developing our first sort of flagship product, the Alert Beacon, which has gone through several iterations and is now, I'll show you some slides on it a little later, but basically that's how Alertus started, and one customer at a time, one happy customer after the other, Alertus grew. In the last 10 years, it's been an exponential growth to customers. I think we have several thousand existing customers in higher education, in K through 12, in industrial, Department of Defense, all over the world. Now we're expanding throughout Europe and different parts of South America. So basically, the strategy we take is multi-layered. We really want to hit into, we're a facility notification solution provider. So what does that mean? Basically, you may have gotten text alerts on your phone from the government or from your school. It says, hey, there's an emergency. That's a personal recipient emergency notification. That's going to your personal device. But we're more of a facility device. So if you have a display or a speaker, what we do is we integrate with that, or we provide you a new type of a new device to alert. So we have that first layer of indoor. We want to try to hit most of the people where they are most of the time during the day, and we've found through a lot of these incidences, they do happen indoors. So we do want to focus on indoors, and I'm briefly going to touch on how we accomplish that. But the focus of this presentation is going to be outdoors. We're going to talk about high power speaker arrays. We're going to talk about acoustical designs. How do we decide where the speaker arrays go, right? And different egress points, parking lots, these sorts of things, where we're going to put the system. Then we start to go down the layer towards some of our partners as well, distributed recipients. if you currently have a text messaging company, I'm willing to bet we work with them, or we could work with them. We're not looking to reinvent the wheel. We're trying to supplement and add to your existing emergency warning, or we can bring in a whole new solution here. Okay, so people are still trickling in. I see people, North Dakota, let's see, Brazil, Tudo Bay, Europe. Okay, so we may actually reach our limit in this webinar. So if you have a colleague or a friend who doesn't get in, please let them know. We are going to send them an email, send them the recording, and we will maybe just set up a second one, because this has been a very hot topic for us as of late. Again, so again, these are the key points I want you to take away. Single point of activation. In an emergency, you don't want to have to run around and activate one screen and activate another button and then go through and activate another device. We're going to give you one single point of activation. Most of our customers now are even going to a single plunger push button on the wall. You hit that button, you're going indoors, desktop alerts, over your indoor speakers, outdoor speakers, integration, and we're going to help you sort of fill in those gaps. Again, we have been around. These are a list of some of our customers. We can give you an extensive list if you like. Let us know where you are, your market, and we'll get you a reference. I'm sure no matter where you are in the world, we have a system somewhere near you. These are just a very, very short list of our customers. Okay, again, each one of these little devices, each one of these devices you see, VoIP phone, integration, all these different devices, we have a webinar series for almost all these different devices. What I'm going to do is just kind of zoom in, go down a layer of abstraction down to this outdoor notification component. That's what I do, what I specialize in. I threw this slide in there quickly. If you're more of a technical person, maybe this will help you kind of get a better idea of how everything ties together. If you're not, that's okay. We can bring you up to speed on how the system works. So in short, what you're looking at is this bottom right-hand corner. So when you go and you hit that plunger, that emergency notification, that evacuation, that active shooter plunger, you're getting that alert across all your peripheral devices, as well as those outdoor units and our remote terminal units and text-to-speech modules. This is a one-button integrated solution for both indoor and outdoors. I put this together for a chemical plant. They're basically different siren speakers, different RTUs, and different indoor PA solutions. But this could be used for a college. This could be used for a Department of Defense facility. Really, we can tailor it for your vertical. Again, I'm not going to go too much into all these devices, kind of get an idea of what they look like. All right, so now let's get into sort of the meat and potatoes. I think when a lot of us, I know before I started in the industry, which was in 2005. Wow, that was a long time ago. I am old. This is what I thought an outdoor speaker system was, right? So this is a famous photo, World War II. This is a mechanical siren. It rotates over a city. Think the Blitzkrieg, think tornadoes, think this is what this was. At the time, it was great. At the time, it was what they had. It was very functional. But you're only going to be able to alert of one type of emergency. If you have different type of emergency, say you're trying to alert of a tornado, and it's during a wartime and it's a blitzkrieg, you're going to need a different type of siren tone. So obviously you quickly realize for a college campus or a military base, for a refinery, this isn't going to be very helpful for you, I think. Also, as a general rule, in electronics, I don't like moving parts. In engineering, I try to keep components from moving, because you're going to increase your likelihood of failure, in my personal opinion. So we find ourselves more and more frequently being asked to replace rotational outdoor warning sirens. We can talk sometime, set up a webinar with you personally if you want to discuss sort of the high power solutions. This is our replacement. This is a 2400 watt high power speaker. This one's actually in downtown Richmond, Virginia, and we actually replaced a rotational siren. Sometimes they stick, sometimes they fill, they drain batteries very quickly. So if you get a chance, during one of their demos, they do test their system quite a bit. So if you're walking through Richmond, you hear a siren, that's us. I actually helped physically install that siren. I don't always do that. I did in that particular project. I'm going to go back to the hardware in a little bit, but first I'm going to talk about the activation points. How are you activating your Alertus system? Well, number one, with our third-party integrations. So if you already have, again, a personal recipient system, there's no need for you to have to learn a new software system. We can just integrate with their system, give you one sort of front-end activation point. A lot of customers are doing that. Or you can activate through the Alertus console, which is a locally hosted or cloud-hosted solution, graphical user interface that's extremely easy for you to use. You simply click a few buttons. It asks you to confirm. Are you sure? I'm going to show you that software. We also have a mobile activator. So if you are an administrator or you are someone who is authorized to activate the system, we can put this on your phone to activate remotely. We actually have a police chief who runs tests sometimes from his house. Or it may be late night where someone is off facility and they want to activate the system. They have the ability to do that. It's very secure. You need to have a PIN, an access code to use it. Also, the hardwire panic. These are the big sellers recently. I think customers are coming around the idea of simplifying, especially in an emergency, keeping it easy to activate. So really the end user, all they really need to know to a certain extent in an emergency is how to lift up, discover, and hit the button. And if you remember back to that first slide, what's really happening is this behind the scenes, but all the operator needs to know is this: there's a button, hit it. Okay, so in an emergency, especially I've done a lot of work within the Department of Defense and on Air Force bases. They have specific procedures they follow through in their emergency plan, and they have literally books. So they used to have 5, 6, 7 steps just to notify people in an emergency. Now we're narrowing that down to one button, and they can move on within their emergency plan. I think it's super powerful. On the far right is the panic button within the tray. Again, go through when you get a chance at the end. I'm going to have a few links down in the slide and on our website to some other webinars, and you can learn more about how to activate in the software, how to use the panic buttons, these sorts of things. I just wanted to show you quickly so you got an idea. You say, well, John, you're showing us a speaker raise, but how the heck does it activate, right? So this is the mobile activated Alertus console with the software. I could quickly show you the software. Let's see. Okay, so here we go. So this is how you activate the system right into our Alertus console. I have it open. You can have sort of preset activations in your system, and what that does is you sort of select a lot of the scenarios. If you're not going to use the panic button, you come in and do your active shooter, your intruder, these sorts of things. And we've already set this up ahead of time where sort of you have your different devices and different things set up for this configuration. So that way it's easier. But we can also go in and configure your high power speaker arrays, which is what we're sort of focused on today. Now, the high power speaker arrays, the outdoor speakers, are all monitored. I'm going to go into that in a little bit, but just to kind of give you a taste of what's going on. This is our operation control panel, OCP. So that's the device that actually activates the system. And this is our high power speaker array. So within this device, we set them up ahead of time, and you can actually monitor each of these devices and their status. So I think that's one of the key things that you're going to look for when you're looking for an emergency warning system is you want to make sure, number one, it's monitored. Now, by the way, this isn't attached to a high power speaker array, so you're going to see a failure. So that's good. This is just my office computer. But number one, you want to monitor this. You want to constantly monitor the endpoints. So there are some sort of low-cost Radio Shack, if anyone even remembers what Radio Shack is, systems you can kind of put out there. They're fine for just a little PA system, but they're not monitored. So you want to make sure you know the status of your equipment at all times. And that was one of the powerful things that the Alertus server is going to do for you. It's going to give you the status of the information constantly. And also you want to have battery backup. So we can speak about that a little bit later. So I'm going to go. So that was just a quick taste of the software. Again, we have a whole nother webinar that just shows you that software. But at the end, you're going to get my contact information and the contact information for the for our sales team, so we can definitely set up another presentation. This is the status information you're going to get back of each of your outdoor speakers. So on the right is a successful speaker. So you see your batteries, last test, the amplifiers, audio amplifiers, the door. Okay, so here you can see that I had the engineer open the door on the cabinet and shut the circuit breaker off. So you're going to get that error. You don't want to find out that you have an issue or someone's trying to tamper with your system during an emergency, right? So you want to get that error back to your system. And also, a lot of the schools, higher education, you have a CLARIAC requirement of reporting. We can just generate the reports for you post-incident or pre-incident. Maybe you decide not to activate and you want to show the systems online. We can very easily just give you, a PDF or Excel you can create from the software to help you just do that work for you. We've tried to make that easy for you. Okay, so now I'm going to get into the hardware. This is our operation control panel. So that software that I just showed you, it just connects to our operation control panel through a little Cat6 cable. That's it. You plug the operation control panel into the local area network, communicates back to the server. Now this activates on its own without the server. So if you want to activate from this front panel, you can play siren tones, pre-recorded messages, these sorts of things from there. You can do a live PA, but majority of our customers do use the Alertus console because they're also activating their other peripherals, their desktops, their beacons, these sorts of things. So this device usually sits in the emergency operations center, or it will sit with your police, or some of our K through 12 customers. It may be in the principal's office or dean's office. Some of the chemical and refinery customers, also government. They require multiple operation control panels, which we can do. So it is smart to have one operation control panel in your main emergency operations center, and also to have one in a completely geographic distinct area on the other side of the facility. So let's say you do have a chemical release and you need to scramble out of that primary, you can now activate from the other facility. Now remember, you do have the mobile app and some other activator options. But what we're doing here, and what I hope, one of the takeaways I hope you get from this is we're continually building in redundancy in multiple layers of alerting and multiple modalities. So we're not just giving you one method. So having the ability to have multiple controllers, I think, can be really powerful for your alerting. And it's just a smart practice, I think, for customers to have. Now, this device communicates by radio out to our high power speaker arrays. We make our own speakers here in the United States. It's aluminum. One of the companies we use, we have redundant manufacturer partners, but one of them, they actually make Corvette or it's a sport car oil pans, these sorts of things, precision, different poured aluminum solutions, and we've developed these several years ago, and they just sound great and they last forever. These can go in all sorts of weather. We have some in Canada, we have in hot places, neutral, all sorts of weather, ocean weather. And because it's poured aluminum, it's going to last. Okay, it's not spun aluminum. It can get dinged and rust. It's not sort of plastic and these sorts of things. We built these to last. Once you put it up there, this speaker is going to last longer than me. And then we have, this is what it looks like on a pole. So on the far right is our 1200 watts. So each speaker is 150 watts. So we'd have a total of 4. Count them up: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 speakers. So 8 times 150 watts. So that's a 1200 watt speaker. That's one of our most common speakers. So most college campuses, most military bases, we can stick one of those speakers in the middle, and we can cover most of the facility. I am going to get into a little bit about our acoustical designs and how we determine where to put these. On the far left, this one we're going to talk about briefly. That's our 100 watt speaker. That's just a self-contained 100 watt speaker. These are for acoustical shadow zones, areas where the sound doesn't go, but we still want to cover, right? So, but we don't want to go ahead and put in a whole high power speaker array. Maybe it's a playground or a quad area, or sort of a sports field where you just want something small and simple. We can put that in there. But what wattage we use and where they go is going to be a result of that acoustical design. I'm gonna go off script again. I'm gonna hear from it later. So basically, the what we'll do is we're going to talk about the RTU in a little bit. What we'll do is we'll take a look at your surrounding area, and we'll kind of determine the coverage. This is one of our industrial customers. I'm going to show you a video from them in a little bit, and we have a software application that you put in the speaker array, and it'll tell you, okay, add in sort of buildings, topography, these sorts of things, and we can get a rough idea of the coverage. And then from our experience and years of just doing this, we're able to kind of move them around and figure out the optimal coverage for you. There's a process I've developed. And we're going to tell you, okay, in this area, we think you're going to have clear voice messaging. In this area, we think you're going to have siren tones, and we can give you estimated decibel levels. And clearly understanding, what's going on in that area, the type of work, whether it's industrial or it's maybe just a quad and it's quiet, is going to be a key piece of information from us. So once you contact the sales rep, the account manager, what they'll do is they'll come to me and say, hey, John, we have this area. It's a refinery. It's a major city. It's a tsunami warning system, whatever it is. This is the area we're trying to cover. We're going to take a look at that ambient noise. We're going to take a look at the vegetation, the buildings, these sorts of things, and come up with a design for you. For the most part, we provide that service at no cost. The larger designs that require some of our acoustical consultants and things like that, we do have a fee for, but for the most part, smaller facilities will do that for you. And then we're going to just go through iterations. We sort of move. I have one customer now. We have some historical concerns, so we're moving speaker arrays around. But we're gonna find the optimal place for that for their speakers now. Okay, so I think I hit on most of these. I think it's good looking too, by the way. Maybe I'm just a proud father, but basically it's aesthetically pleasing. I think we can hide it in some places. Some of our customers do have aesthetic concerns. So if you tell us, hey, we want to cover this area, but let's try to get in the spot that's sort of out of sight, we can do our best to do that for you. We can use, so basically, I think I've hit all these. This is our 12-watt configuration. This is a 3.5-inch aluminum pipe, by the way. Different mounting options. This is a non-penetrating roof mount. This is one of our customers. I believe this is upstate New York college. This is 10 by 10 by 10 building mount, non-penetrating roof mount sitting on the roof. There's rubber padding underneath the ballasting. This is great for some customers, not great for other customers. We're really just going to work with you and find the best way to do it. Then we have pole mounts. This is actually I believe a boarding school or a private school up in Maine. So this is our pole mount. We have a custom bracket that mounts to existing poles. So this was a light pole that just happened to be, in a key area where people egress and congregate. As a general rule, if you have a light up, that light is illuminating something, and usually it's people. So we may want to put a speaker there. The same thing goes for cameras, right? So if there's a camera there, more likely than not, then people are going to be walking by. So let's go ahead and utilize that existing camera pole, that existing light pole, and get in a custom speaker. Now this speaker, you'll notice, is an electronics cabinet, and there's an antenna. So this is the radio communication back to that operation control panel that I showed you at the beginning. So this system is constantly monitored inside our two 12-volt, 75-amp-hour batteries. Status information is constantly being received or is being recorded several times throughout the day from the system into the Alertus server. And we activate from that OCP out to this controller as well. Again, Maine, all sorts of different weather in that system. We could also come up with you for structure mounts. That's not the best photo, but basically the idea is a lot of our industrial facilities, they have structures, they have walkways, they have different planks. Let's try to find, we'll help you find the best spots, the best methods, the best common practices that we've seen in the industry of mounting. And I'm actually going to show you the video of this speaker. This was a farm, a facility in the middle of a farm that put our speaker, and they did both English and Spanish. So it was a siren tone followed by English and Spanish. We think it came out great. The video I'm going to show you actually has a loud industrial noise. Maybe I'm a little worried you might not hear it through the presentation. So maybe after the presentation, we can give you a different demo, send you a link to it so you can listen to it yourself. But you're going to get an idea. But in short, this is what it looks like. You see it off in the top right corner there. That's very common for a refinery or for chemical or some other customers. We'll kind of just put it in a major area where people egress, where we need to, sometimes we need more in high decibel areas, sometimes we'll need less in sort of more areas where there's offices and less noise. It really depends on that acoustical study that I talked about earlier. This is your electronics cabinet. So this cabinet goes indoors or outdoors, two 12-volt, 75 amp hour batteries, controller board and charger. Some of our customers like to buy sort of spare parts. We do have a very extensive 2-year warranty. We could definitely get into that. We have an ENS package as well with support for our system. One of the things that we really just doubling down on is our support. We are continually hiring more and more new support people. We have a new gentleman, and a few other people that have joined us recently that I think are just going to be a huge, it's just going to be a game changer for Alertus. We're really just building out that team. And I think what we found, some of our competitors do, you're not going to hear me say anything bad, but some of our competitors, they just sell the systems and, it's kind of, good luck, maintain the system. That's not what we do. We're looking for 1 year, 5 year, 10, we're looking for 20-year relationships with our customers. We don't want you, we want you to be happy indefinitely, indefinitely into the future. So I think that's something you're going to find working with us. That support team is just really talented. I will touch it. Oh, I sort of foreshadowed earlier this 100-watt unit. Kind of just to give you a quick summary of how this works. This could be just text-to-speech, by the way. We don't need to do the live PA. We can keep it very simple. So those other peripherals that you see, the beacon, indoor PA, you don't need to use the live PA or pre-recorded messages. We can be just text-to-speech, keep it very simple. So if you're an existing customer and you already have text-to-speech speakers and you're saying, well, John, we don't want to use the pre-recorded messages. We don't want to use the live PA, which a lot of customers do. We just have a small little module that sits next to this and it'll play tones and that text-to-speech message. It's extremely reliable. If power is lost to this unit, we had one customer, they shut off the power to the building and no one told the police. So the police got a fault back saying, there's a problem with your speaker array. So it turns out they just didn't coordinate with each other. And but it's important again to monitor the equipment. These are going to go park lots, playgrounds, courtyards, these sorts of things. The wattage we choose, you may come to us and say, John, just don't give me a couple of those 100-watt speakers, we're going to use those. But more often than not, what I'll do is I'll look at your area and sort of recommend the type you'll use. Also on your budget, they are a little less expensive, than the larger high power speakers. So some of our customers that are more budget conscious, they'll tend to gravitate towards the lower HPS 100. And by the way, we do have even a 15-watt smaller unit that sort of goes in a doorway, and we have a parking garage solution. It's really cool. We did one college where every single layer has 2 speakers, and we can give you that parking garage alerting because obviously that's a place where there's a lot of people and there tends to be a need there. So that's something we can definitely go over in a future meeting. So this isn't the best. I'm going to delete this slide at some point. This isn't the best video, but best photo. But what I'm trying to show you here is our remote terminal unit. Let me show you a cut sheet. There we go. So this is our remote terminal unit photo. Basically, it communicates by radio back to the operation control panel and has an audio output to a PA. Also, it has GPIO ports. We can both control both ways. We can take in panic buttons. We can take out panic buttons. In short, if you're a technical person, what you'll see here is, we can interface with existing devices with this. Also, we can interface with different devices through our text-to-speech module. So I came out of present mode. I'm fired. Okay, text-to-speech interface. This is, again, one of our flagship products. This is a big differentiator for Alertus, and this we can use also to interface with fire panels, indoor PAs, existing outdoor high power speakers. Maybe you already have a high power speaker array you purchased, say a few years ago, but you want all the other Alertus features. We can use our text-to-speech module or that RTU I showed you to interface with your existing system. So, and then, maybe a few years from now, 3, 5, 10, 15 years from now, you say, well, our outdoor speaker has aged out. We want to bring in a new system. Let's bring in the Alertus high power speaker array. That's actually very common with those. We're finding our competitor speaker arrays are lasting about, 5 to 8 years, 5 to 9 years. So we're replacing more and more and more and more units that are currently out there. So, but the first step is to integrate with the existing system, and then maybe a budget will come a year from now, 2 years from now, and we can put in something newer. This device connects to the alert beacon that I showed you earlier in the presentation. Alert beacon communicates through your local area network back to Alertus server. It takes a text message, right? It converts it to audio, so it plays a message, siren tone, over your speakers, and then it plays whatever that message is. There is a shooter on campus. There is a chemical release. There is a tsunami, these sorts of things. And what it does, it gives a very, I think, elegant and simple interface to a solution, to an existing system, or we can provide our own text-to-speech speakers. So we can kind of go either route. We can use that RTU, we can use that text-to-speech. So again, we can go more into that in a future one-on-one session with an account manager. We're going to give you some additional resources. Some of the other, like I alluded to some other presentations, some other webinars sort of that we do. Go ahead in there. You can find the resources. You can find future webinars, case studies. These are awesome. A lot of the we have some schools that are using high power speaker arrays that have agreed to sort of talk about how they're using the system, the process, what they, some happy customers, and kind of you'll get an idea of how the system works. Definitely check that out. Alertus.com. You're going to find all these resources, different mandates, how we complied a lot of these codes. I think obviously is very important. Within the government, you have UFC requirements and FPA requirements. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and play the tone. So, okay, so we have two customers. One of them, again, was a refinery, a industrial facility. It's this is one of those situations where the ambient noise is very loud. So we put a speaker array right in the middle. I think it's loud enough. We'll send you the link. Just send us an email, give us a call later. We'll send you a link so you can listen to yourself. I'm going to take a risk here and see if maybe I can play it for you and you can hear it. Then the second video, it's going to be it's going to be a government facility. This was an active shooter drill. Okay, so I can't tell you who it is, but there was an active shooter drill government facility. The scenario was someone breaches the gate. There is active shooter in a building, and this was coordinated with the local police. It coordinated with several other, without giving you too much information, basically, it was a full-on active shooter drill, and they used our siren and our outdoor mass notification system. It ran for 22 minutes straight during the emergency. Every customer does it differently. Sometimes they'll just run it for sort of a few minutes. Sometimes they'll keep it running during the entire emergency. We can have it time out. Those are details that we will use depending on your emergency plan. So we can have it short, we can have it long. It's really going to depend on you. And Vincent, are you back? Maybe we have you muted, Vincent. Do we have you muted? Okay, so we'll go ahead and play those messages. Okay, so the first one is this industrial facility. Okay, Vincent, try unmuting your phone here. Okay, so this is the facility. Remember that photo I showed you earlier? There's a little speaker. This is it here. I'm going to take off my headset and we're going to run an experiment. See if this works. This is an experiment in front of 100-something people.
Attention. There is a fire. Please exit to the safest location. Attenzione. Attenzione. Hay un incendio. Por favor, salga a la ubicación más cerca.
Okay, so again, probably not the best sounding. We're going to send you a link after the video and kind of get you something that's a little better, a little better over the computer. But I think the big takeaway there, number one, loud ambient noise. Number two, you have that siren tone getting the attention of everyone that works there. Number three, we have both English and Spanish, so we can pre-record different messages. We actually, our voice actor actually does McDonald's commercials, believe it or not. So he just slowly enunciates. He clearly gets that message. So between pre-recorded messaging and our text-to-speech messaging, you're going to clearly be able to communicate with the listeners, with your students, guests, different people on your facility. I think this next video is going to be a little better. This is the one I was talking about earlier that I'm hanging out a window. Don't tell my boss. No, I'm just kidding. It's okay. So the video, pay no attention to the video. It's pretty bad, but the audio, you're going to get an idea of what we were doing. And again, this was a government facility during a real active shooter test drill.
Attention, attention. There is a shooter on the yard. Run, hide, fight. There is a shooter on the yard. Run, hide, fight.
Back over to my headset. We're going to get into the Q&A session of this. Let's see. Okay, the first question. We are in Canada. It gets very cold here. Can the system work in outdoor areas? Yeah, okay. So basically, the question there is cold weather. Yes, we have systems in Canada. We also have heaters for the unit as well. So the system will automatically switch over. There's a thermostat. So basically, if it hits a certain temperature, it'll cut over and keep the electronics to the correct temperature. We have systems in extremely hot and extremely cold. So what we'll do is take that into account and make sure you have, of course, we account for the worst case scenario, so we look for historically the hottest, historically the coldest, and we plan ahead. So that's how we do that. How do you determine the location of your speaker arrays? How do I know how many are going to be needed for my campus? Okay, so again, that goes back to that design. So step one, we give a call or email. It's here, info@Alertus is the email or call, and your account manager will talk with you, ask a few questions, we'll identify sort of the areas of your facility, of your campus, and we'll put together acoustical design and tell you those locations, the numbers you'll need. We'll give you budgetary numbers if you're going for grant, or if you're just trying to budget. And that's it's an iterative process, something of course we do at no charge. Sometimes that process will last a week and someone already has budgets and they'll purchase quickly, and sometimes it'll last years. I've had a customer, I had an Army base that took 5 years before they got the funding, believe it or not. If you're a government facility watching this, you know how it goes. Sometimes you get funding, sometimes you don't. So that's the process we'll follow. So go ahead and email info@Alertus and we can set that up for you down the road. How do you test the intelligibility of your system? Okay, so that's a really good question. That's kind of a hot topic in the industry. Outdoor intelligibility of systems. This is a hot topic. There are some companies out there claiming to have processes to tell the intelligibility of your outdoor system. Yes, it's possible, but I tell you, you have a storm, the wind picks up, you have a drastic temperature change, you have an emergency, the intelligibility is going to change. I think the correct answer to that isn't a quantitative method, but a qualitative method. And what we have as part of our service is our quality control startup and inspection. And what we do after the system is installed is we start the system up. We have a factory technician work with you to start the system up, and you place different folks on your team around the facility, and we activate the system. We want to test the system after it's installed in real world conditions. And when we ask them, do you hear the system? Do you understand the system? So again, our process is, as I said, qualitative, not quantitative, but there are some standards coming out where they're sort of they're sort of moving towards more of a quantitative process using something called a speech index and different methods. We have engineers and partners who do that for us if you are looking for that. But I got to tell you, we depend on our sort of tried and true process, and we'll stand by it. And we'll even fill in acoustic gaps and shadows and things like that to make sure you have the full coverage and your system is clear and works across your entire facility. So that's it. I think we're going to wrap up. I thank everyone for joining. This has been great. We get a ton of questions. Sorry I didn't answer all of them. We had 120 something people. So again, sign up for this. So again, email us, info@alertus.com. Give us a call, 866-425-3788. We'll schedule that next call with your account manager, and we'll move to the next step. Thank you so much for coming, and we'll catch you on the next webinar series at alertus.com. All right, take care.